Hey, it's Lise, and here's my question of the day. And this is the topic for this episode. The question is how to know when it's time for you to either cut back or quit drinking alcohol. And I made a list of 10 things that if any of these 10 things resonate with you or sound familiar to you, then maybe it's time to consider cutting back or quitting drinking alcohol. And how I came up with this list was I thought of my life and I thought of me, the person who was drinking too much. And some of these are red flags that I I wasn't aware of. I was oblivious to. So let's bring them to light today and just see if any of these things on this list sound familiar to you. And remember, this is a judgment free space. I'm going to be sharing some embarrassing things. And so please hold space for me and um, just meet yourself where you're at. Like, don't judge yourself either. If some of these things that you know that you're doing, it's okay. It's okay. We're just going to meet you where you're at right now. And this is just a list of just things to become aware of. Because, like I said, I was oblivious. Okay. So these are in no particular order whatsoever. So one is not important than the other. They were just, as I was brainstorming these ideas, thinking back to my life, just they popped up in different, um, they just popped up. Okay. All right. So, number one, you hate looking at yourself in the mirror. That was me. I could not look at myself in the mirror. I felt ugly on the inside. I felt ugly on the outside, especially on the inside. I just felt super. And the only word I can really describe it, or the word that I can use best that describes how I felt, was really ugly. I had no self confidence. My confidence was gone. No self esteem. My self worth was in the tank. I almost said in the toilet, but same place, same thing. So, and also physically, I didn't like who I like what I was looking like as well. The puffy face, the, you know, the belly, just none of it was good. So that's number one. Maybe that sounds familiar to you or not. It's okay if it does. Number two, every time you drink, you end up in a fight. So, and with this one, and I'm talking about not physical fights, but like arguing. Um, every time, when you wake up in the morning, you have been in a fight and you don't remember what you said, or you say things and you will end up in a fight. Well, that was me, and that was in my current relationship because when my partner and I met, I was still drinking, and we fought a lot. And I can tell you that if I wouldn't have done some of this work on myself, then we probably wouldn't be together to this day. But does that sound familiar to you? Because that was totally me in a lot of my relationships. I mean, my longest relationship before this one, which is it's over 9 years at the time of this recording. My longest relationship was 3 years. I had two divorces, and these are things I'm not proud of, but it is what it is. So I just yeah, we would end up in fights, and it wasn't just in this current relationship when I was drinking, it was in many of my previous relationships. Number 3, do you have brain fog where you can't remember words, or it's hard for the words to come to mind? You're in a mid sentence, and all of a sudden that word just like has disappeared from your brain. You might have brain fog, and it might be a symptom of something that's even more, more for you to be concerned about, which I had adrenal fatigue. And adrenal fatigue is not necessarily something that a doctor is going to diagnose you with because it's not really recognized by the medical field, but a naturopath doctor might diagnose you with adrenal fatigue. And it's definitely something that I self-diagnosed myself with when I was becoming a health coach and a nutrition coach and going through those programs. I realized, oh, Yes, I have adrenal fatigue, and it was mostly from my caffeine use and my alcohol use. And so if you were having brain fog, I would be sitting in meetings and I could not recall words. And I felt so stupid in these big meetings at my corporate job that I used to be in. So is this happening to you? Just something to be aware of. And then number 4, you're tired of the chaos that alcohol brings to your life. Oh, yes. So here's an example from my life. I had to change planes at an airport, and the time zones had changed. And I didn't realize it. I had left my phone on. So when it transferred from one time zone to the other, it never changed for whatever reason. And this was years ago. So maybe it's different now. But it didn't change. I was like, oh, wow, I have like 2 hours. I'll go sit in the bar. So I sat in the bar at the airport where I was supposed to change flights. And so I sat there and I'm like, oh, I have 2 hours. Well, little did I know, I only had 1 hour because the time zone changed and I missed my flight. I got super drunk. I ended up in the men's restroom, going to the restroom in the men's restroom when I came out of the stall. And this is embarrassing, but when I came out of the stall, there was a man washing his hands. And I was like, I, I was drunk. So I just washed my hands and just walked out like nothing had happened. And I missed my flight. And then I missed my connecting flight. And then that threw everything else off. And it was just a big mess, a lot of chaos. And that's just one example of many times that alcohol brought chaos to my life. But does that sound familiar to you? Chaos in your life? All right, number 5. You're I'm trying to read this without my glasses. You're over waking up worrying about what you said or did the day or the night before. Yes, that's very familiar, or was very familiar to me. So when you wake up in the morning, do you worry about what you have said or done the night before or the day before? Um, so I would start when I was single, I would start pulling out the dating apps and I would be texting people and um, yeah, you know, not my best moments, but it's just something that when I was drinking, we just don't think of, you're not, I wasn't in my right mind. So, and let's see here, I have some other examples. Oh, texting exes. So not only like going on the dating apps, but if you have an ex and you're texting your ex, or just doing things that you're not proud of. And so if that sounds familiar, that was number 5. Number 6, bad things happen when you drink. So maybe you lose your keys. Maybe you buy the whole bar around and you don't realize it till the next day and you're going through your wallet or your purse and you see the receipts. Or maybe if you're at a casino and you are gambling too much. These are all things, little red flags. I would spend way too much money when I was drinking. And then I would see my receipts or I would lose my purse or my wallet. And one time I believe I was roofied before. Luckily, nothing bad happened. I barely made it home. I couldn't tell the taxi driver how to get me home. And he said he was going to call the cops. And luckily, by the grace of God or something, I remembered how to get home, the directions, and it was literally a mile away, and I made it home. But if bad things are happening to you while you're drinking, then this might be a sign. All right, so that was number 6. Number 7, you just can't seem to handle your alcohol as well as you used to. And I think that this is also a sign of, us getting older as well. So when I quit, I was 47, but my hangovers were not just one day, they were like 2 days. And, uh, you know, it wouldn't really matter that much. I mean, let me back up here. I would feel crappy throughout the day, but then I would just start drinking again. And so the next day, it would just feel like double whammy. And it just kept piling. The days the days and the hangovers just kept getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And I would wake up in the morning and I would just feel like sore, almost like I had worked out at the gym, but I hadn't worked out at the gym. But my muscles just felt really achy. And yeah, and I felt really groggy in the morning. So those are some of the things. If you are not able to handle your alcohol as much as you used to, then maybe that's a sign as well. And if you see me squinting, if you're watching me on YouTube, it's because I don't have my glasses on and I'm trying to read this without my glasses. Okay, number 8. Your face is super puffy when you wake up in the morning and your eyes are yellow. And I used to wonder, like when I was at work, I would look at people's eyes and I would wonder, why are their eyes how do they make their eyes so white? Because mine were yellowish. And I'm not a doctor, but I know that that can't be a good sign, right? Something's going on with your liver, possibly. At least that's what I was thinking. Possibly could have been going on with me. And my face was just always super puffy. I mean, like I didn't notice at the time because I just thought that that was normal because it's how my face always was. But now, when I go back and I look at photos now versus then, I can see how puffy and inflamed my face was, and especially after drinking hard liquor. I really I could notice that definitely the difference in my face. Wine, not as much. Prosecco, not as much, but definitely hard liquor. If I was doing shots or something or drinking a margarita, pina coladas, anything like that, definitely notice puffy face. And that's inflammation. And again, inflammation is not good for our health, our bodies. And so just if you're noticing that, this also could be a sign for you. The other thing that I think that I had, and again, nobody told me, but I felt like I had bad breath all the time. And yes, this is so embarrassing, but I felt like I had bad breath. And if you are thinking that same thing, hey, you're not alone. Just know that you might be having some gut issues going on and definitely want to think about adding some kombucha, some uh, probiotics and prebiotics to your diet. So again, nobody told me, but one of my ex-boyfriends did buy me a toothbrush, an electric toothbrush. So maybe, hint, hint, maybe I did. And I always was like chewing gum because I just felt like I had bad breath. Again, I'm really embarrassed, but hey, if this helps somebody, I'm happy to share. All right. Number 9, we're almost done here. Number 9, your work, your career, your work is suffering. If that's you, this might be another sign. Let me give you an example from my life. I think, and I've shared a couple of times, but I did miss some deadlines and I definitely procrastinated a lot. And the more that I procrastinated and the more stressed out that I was, the more that I felt the need to cope by drinking alcohol, which this was made it into a perpetual cycle of stress, drink, create more stress, more anxiety, drink more. And it was just a cycle that ended, never ended. I was constantly stressed and anxious and, you know, not doing my best work, especially towards the end when I quit my job. The stress was just outrageous for me. But a lot of it, I was bringing it on myself because of my drinking. I think that now, if I could go back and do it all over again, I mean, I don't want to, but if I had to, things would be totally different. I could totally handle a corporate career. So you don't have to quit your corporate career like I did. You can still keep it, and things will get better for you if you cut back or quit drinking the alcohol. The procrastination will stop or slow down. The stress will definitely decrease. And, oh, here's another sign. If you're late for work, uh, you know, I was late for work sometimes. I was late for meetings sometimes where I remember this one time, I didn't even have the meeting on my calendar for some reason. And I walked in and my boss was having a meeting with two of my other peers, and I was supposed to be in that meeting and I wasn't there. And yeah, I mean, I just want you to think about this. If this is sounding familiar to you, then maybe this is another sign that maybe you should cut back or quit drinking. And remember, this is judgment free. So I'm just trying to bring these to the forefront. And then number 10. Number 10 is a good one. And I know that I heard this a couple of times, but let me share this one with you. And it'll make sense when I say I heard this a couple of times, it'll make sense now. There's a small silent voice inside of you that's saying, "Hey, something's got to change. Hey, you know what? Something's got to change. This is not getting any better. It's just getting worse." And if you are hearing that small silent voice, that is your intuition, and it's telling you something. And your intuition will never steer you wrong. You've heard me say this on previous episodes. Your intuition will never, ever steer you wrong. So maybe just consider this is another sign. That small silent voice inside of you is telling you. And I wouldn't call it necessarily this as a red flag, but this is a sign that perhaps it is time to make a change. So if any of these are resonating with you or sound familiar, then I do want you to consider just cutting back or quitting. Let's just pop that idea into your mind. I'm not asking you to do it right now. I'm just asking you to consider it. And um, and yeah, just I want you to meet yourself where you're at. Like I did, I was not ready to quit drinking. I never thought that I would quit drinking, but I did decide to cut back a little bit. Episode number 33 is my story 33 and 34 is my story where I share how and why I quit drinking alcohol. So please go listen to that if you haven't already, because I will share how I ended up losing the desire for alcohol. And I would love for you to, like I said, if any of this is resonating with you, just hold that thought in your mind, and no action needed to take right now. Just think about it. All right. So that is what I have for you all today. Thank you all for listening all the way to the end. I so appreciate you. If any of this is resonating with you, please share it with a family member or a friend. And I would love it if you would leave a review, if you feel comfortable leaving a review on Apple Podcast or Spotify. 5 stars means you love it. All right, you guys, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you listening, and I'll see you again next week. Shine bright. Bye for now.